Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the I Do Wedding Marketing podcast. We are finally back with season three, and you know how we do it here in the wedding industry. We're always opening up with a bang. You got to start off, right, with a beautiful event to kick things off. So that's what we're doing with today's episode. I have two guests with me today as we're talking about a brand new summit in the wedding industry. It is the Inclusive Wedding Summit, brought to you by Brian Lawrence and Brenda Ferrarini from Elegant Bridal Productions. The Inclusive Wedding Summit has a mission to guide wedding professionals in embracing inclusivity, ensuring your brand and services reflect the diverse couples you want to serve. Now, Brian Lawrence of Brian Lawrence Weddings has been on the podcast before, so it's really not going to be too surprising to you that Brian is a part of this. In addition to being the website and SEO whiz for so many of us here in the wedding industry, he's really pioneered inclusivity when it comes to your website. So, Brian, can you talk to us a little bit about that and why you're so excited about this summit?
In general, I have had this ongoing passion for, making my own personal stamp of difference in the wedding industry beyond just the work that I do. And my goal to be more inclusive has started long ago. Like years ago, I was the VP of a leading wholesale invitation brand just when the conversation of same-sex weddings were starting. And we were the first brand to offer within the wording of invitations an acknowledgement of different genders. And I actually got interviewed by the Washington Post about it. And it was really cool. So we started to have wording. We started to do wedding invitations for all different gender combinations. And as I evolved into the new chapter of doing web design and SEO, I realized that an expression of inclusivity had to be done with taste and elegance. And too few businesses really understood how to do it. So we've tried to foray into being encouraging about it. You have to show imagery, you have to choose words. And more recently, I took my own path of inclusivity to start a conversation about accessibility, where people that have disabilities, even if it's the best website in the world, would not be able to enjoy or navigate because of some of the limitations of the sites in their eyes or their ears. So in general, I approached Brenda, who, we go back like 40 years, even though we look young. We weren't babies.
What did you meet Brenda when she was six? Like,
Right. Before she started her bridal show company, but I could just introduce Brenda now because I think she is like the most
do it.
unbelievable human being and business person. She had a partnership going back into the 1980s where she has just grown and evolved into the largest bridal show company doing like 30 to 50 bridal shows a year. I might be underestimating that amount. It might be probably more, but nobody could understand how she does so many shows, but she pulls it off. She is revered in this industry because of the way that she treats her vendors. She doesn't have these bridal show stampedes where there's thousands of brides and hundreds of vendors. It's more of a quality experience. And she's just a good person. And I approached her with the idea of doing an industry conference that focused on inclusivity that would really help take a wedding business by the hand to guide them in a tasteful way if they're interested in certain niches that they're already getting some business from, how to do it better, how to be elegant in the way they present it, subtle, kind, giving, and also understanding, actually, it's going to be a great learning experience, but part of it is going to be how much more, if people want to be inclusive, and if people want to go into the Indian wedding market, for example, which one of our speakers will be going into detail about, they have to understand every nuance. And we'll be sharing a lot of resources on not only what people will learn that day, but how they can continue to learn. I'm just really excited. I'm grateful to work with Brenda, and I think that she can talk a little bit herself.
Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Brenda from Elegant Bridal Productions. Thank you, Brian. What a great intro, and I feel the same about you. We have been in the industry together for over 40 years, which is crazy. Started, out of college, and just watched this. We made a friendship throughout, always kept in touch, have helped Brian do a couple of smaller networking events over the years. And I'm thrilled to be part of this. When he asked me, the timing was right. A little bit about Elegant Bridal Productions. This year we'll be back again as from before COVID with over 100 events. Sounds kind of crazy, but we're in New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. And as Brian had mentioned, we feature the venue, and they're more elegant, they're greeted with champagne, and the quality of the couples that come to the shows, the experiences they have. Vendors say they get more out of our shows because they get to connect with people. So that's our specialty. We're boutique, elegant style shows, and I get approached to change it all the time, but that's not for me. I really like to do this. So yeah, we're out a lot and busy, but I love it. I've always loved it, and with that, I see so many changes from over the years. And right now, there's a lot of industry changes. And so when Brian approached me, I just felt timing was right. Everybody could be educated more. And I know there's a lot of different networking things that go on, but the way Brian put this together and the speakers that he has lined up, I think it's going to be fantastic. As I mentioned, everyone has stuff to learn. This is where you'll learn it, is at this summit. He has covered all different aspects, and it will be worth to be there every second of the day.
What's really exciting about this summit is if you can't travel to New Jersey to make it, there are virtual tickets available too, which is really exciting. So how has this summit for you, Brenda, I'm wondering, been different? And what about it really excites you since it does stand out from your other bridal shows?
Oh, it's totally different than the bridal shows, but it's funny how you mentioned virtual because that's another, I think, really good part of the summit is Elegant Bridal was doing excellent for years and growing, and then COVID hit, and obviously everything stopped. And then I got a phone call one day from Frankie from One of a Kind events that he had this idea to work together. I took the chance, we became partners, and we did virtual events for 2 years. It was a great place for the brides to go. We'd feature one venue, they loved it, and then we had vendors on it, maybe 8 to 10. So it kept a lot of people out in the spotlight and in front of the brides, and especially Elegant Bridal. It helped us because no one else was doing it. So people love the virtual experience, and that's why well, two things. So now Frankie's hosting this event, which is going to make the day so much fun. And the other thing, you're absolutely right. No matter where you are, it's going to be live streamed, and it's going to be excellent. So that being said, different than bridal shows. Bridal shows, we invite brides and have vendors around the room, and they get educated on weddings. But this is more for the vendors, the venues. We're going to have sponsors with different booths around the room. But this will be an educational day. Also, a lot of networking with local vendors that'll be there in person.
Brian, what do you think wedding professionals are going to be most surprised to learn? There's a lot that I think is going to surprise them in this summit. Do you think you could hone in on one?
I really believe that it's going to be eye-opening for a lot of businesses that think they understand how to be more inclusive and what they're not doing. One of the things that I'm really excited about, going back to Frankie, so Frankie has a Latin background and he's also a DJ. So one of the ideas that we're talking about is to have different interludes in between sessions where people could get up and stretch and dance a little bit or whatever, and explaining the difference that if you want to be inclusive of Latin, Spanish communities, it's not just being bilingual. You have to honor each culture. And we're going to break down inclusivity in a more granular way, from design on your website to marketing to understanding the nuances of the culture. And I just think that's going to be really, really eye-opening. And it's going to be really empowering for a lot of businesses to feel much more confident about going after different niches. Because if a business understands their niche, it's almost like an express train for them to win business. It isn't a matter of just demonstrating, well, I have all these reviews, I have a really great website, I have great pricing. A couple that cares about their culture or cares about their identity, they want to be heard. They want to be seen. And that's the essence of what we're trying to do here. One thing that I did want to say about, going back to what I was talking about with accessibility and honoring people with disabilities, you can't do that with imagery or words. You have to do that by walking the walk on your website, as well as your physical space if you welcome people, by being accessible to them physically, by having accommodations on your website to make it easier for them.
Beautiful, beautifully said, and so true. And what I really like about this summit and about the speaker panel you have is that it's one about the inclusivity and two about the implementation. All right, so now we know why it's important. We know why you want to do it. And you have speakers who are going to be showing people how to do it, whether that be through their sales, through their TikTok marketing, through leveraging tools. So I think that's another really cool element of this summit, is that you're going to get not only the values in doing it, but the tools and how to do it. And I'm wondering, Brenda, do you have any speaker in particular you're excited about? And you don't have to say me or Brian just because we're here.
Well, I'm really excited that Alan Berg is joining us. He is so well known. He's one of the leading in the wedding industry. People go to him, ask him for advice, go to his seminars, his workshops. So he's going to be part of it. Obviously, you two as well. And I guess Brian will go down the whole list, but I'm really excited that he's part of it and backing this whole idea. He thinks it's a great idea. And just like you're saying, like everybody needs to learn a little bit. Like it's easy to say, oh, I do, and I'm an expert at this or an expert at that. But there's a lot to it that you don't know until like that day comes or you're trying to find out about it. Like this day, all day, you're going to just learn so much.
Yeah, how big of a notebook should we be bringing that day, Brian?
For me, I write everything
Right?
down.
I
So
love,
I'll
I'm
be
a
like I'm a
physical.
writer.
Well, I did order custom pens for the event already that I'll be giving out. One thing that we will be doing is recording the event so that everybody will have it as an enduring resource to go back to.
And that's just another way, because everybody learns differently and everybody studies differently. There are people like Brenda and I, we like our notes and our notebooks. There are people who learn through audio, people who have to really visually be there. So I love that even in how you're getting to consume the summit, that's being considered.
We're looking at this as the inaugural event, not
Yes.
that one and done, because there are so many other avenues that we could go into of inclusivity, bring in that many more of a diversity of different speakers. It's hard sometimes to find speakers. I mean, I reached out to a lot of people. First of all, we're only doing it for one day, so we only have so many times and spots. But I would just love to diversify the diversity. And like I'm hoping that with this event, it'll be inviting to a lot of speakers to approach us for future events, because I certainly want to get that much more diverse from other different vantage points of culture, gender, everything that we can break down for the higher good of the industry.
And I know we have a lot of wedding industry speakers who listen to this podcast. So check out the summit, attend, whether it's virtually or in person, and let's talk about next year, because I think we're all already really excited about that and to see how it grows. And it's great to give each topic the focus it needs rather than try to fit more and then nobody learns anything because you're rushing through it. So I look forward to the growth in the future that we know is going to come.
Yes, and I did want to also mention a particular excitement of having Kirsten and Maria Palladino of Equally Wed involved. I think that their industry platform, Equally Wed, which is one of the heaviestly visited by couples to find inclusive vendors, and their education program that really empowers wedding vendors and venues to be more inclusive, is sort of at the centerpiece of what I'm hoping that people will take away from, from the event.
Yeah, Brian, would you like to talk about any of the other speakers that we have?
So the speakers that I've curated there has to be a trust factor. So, I've been in the speaking realm, spoken at Wedding MBA 4 or 5 times, and I know and see speakers. So, the first event is something that you want to make sure that you really have people that you trust. So, I have Mark Chapman from the I Do Society is this really great source of information, and it's just a really gentle, nice, authentic guy that's going to share a lot of great information on how to do digital marketing to be more inclusive. And Nina, I think the world of you also, and it was just really like a total surprise when Brenda and I had talked about how daunting a lot of people in the wedding industry have explained to us about how to use AI. And then you shared with us that that's something that you've been educating on. So we're going to try to give examples of inclusivity in terms of AI, but just the whole idea of how to better use AI, the benefit of improving and making your business more efficient, probably be worth the price of the event by itself. I know that everything that I do is totally native and authentic, but you could be sure that I use AI to put it into a better format, to say, well, is there anything else that I'm missing? But you always have to start with the human element. That's one thing I got to tell you.
Is that why your meeting outlines are so good? Are you using AI to help organize those, Brian?
Yes, that's absolutely something that I've done. I've taken like a disorganized Google Doc and I said, make this an organized document, and it just does it, and it comes out. It has everything that I said, but it's just much more structured, bulleted, captioned, the whole thing.
And then you're also going to have, I'm pretty excited about Mayuri Parikh, who's going to be on, who's the founder of True Client Pro, which is huge. And she's going to be talking about expert guidance on Indian weddings, which I think a lot of vendors really are going to be very eager to learn about and hear.
Yes, and I didn't even realize it when I reached out to her, but she happens to be located, in the local area.
Oh, fantastic.
So that's, the vast majority of our speakers will be live, which is great. And Mayuri is one of them. So we had lunch together recently, and she's just a great woman, bright, caring, and very, very knowledgeable. And she's very, very excited to be part of this.
And the last one to mention is Rivka Holzer, who's going to be talking about blending tradition and elegance in Jewish weddings. And she's based in New York City as well, correct?
Yes, yes, and she was very carefully vetted by my family. My family knows her, and I spoke to her, checked her out, knew her expertise, and found out that she also was an industry educator. She actually was helping some venues that were more like a health and healing retreats that wanted to pivot to also be in the wedding industry. She shared with me her PowerPoint, and I saw how good it was on educating them on how to do that, to target Jewish events. So she brings a lot of young energy. She's in the trenches, and she's really here to really give to the wedding community to help better understand how to serve, the Jewish clientele.
Fantastic. Brenda, who would you say this event is for?
For anyone in the wedding industry, but anyone really that does events, or even that wants to just learn about the exclusivity and come. The whole day, it's going to be learning, fun. Really, anyone is welcome. But of course, we definitely think that definitely in the wedding industry, because vendors, I work with them and they're all asking questions. So this is the place they can come for the day in January. They're not busy. They can concentrate and really get themselves prepared for 2025.
Well, also a really good thing about having it at the time of the year that we're having it is that a lot of the booking season in most parts of the country is still, it's before Valentine's Day. So there's a lot of opportunity to implement ideas and benefit from them immediately.
Yes.
And one other avenue of type of attendee that I want to encourage is national brands. National brands, so that they could be that much more empowered to serve their wedding industry business clients with more knowledge, with more understanding. Sometimes depending on the supplier, they may want to have different tools to help their businesses market. So if they're in the know about inclusivity, it's just going to help them have a better relationship with the wedding business clients that may have not attended or knew about this event, even though we're hoping everybody knows about it.
Yes.
They will. They will. We'll make sure, right,
Yeah.
Nina?
Yeah. Is there going to be early bird pricing available for the event? And when is that through?
Yeah, we're just getting started with the marketing. We're going to have early bird pricing through November 15th. And also we have hotel room discounts. So the Hilton in Hasbrook Heights is such a great location. They're located right off of Route 17, right off of Route 80, 9 minutes from the George Washington Bridge, 15 minutes from the Lincoln Tunnel. Well, of course, we know that's not true, because unless it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. But theoretically, it's really close. So because it's going to be a full day, also we're serving breakfast and lunch. A nice breakfast and a nice lunch. So be a nice thing. I think that the reduced rate is like $140 something to come the night before, and this way you get up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed to get right down instead of having to go through the tumult of commuting. Of course, if it's a local New Jersey person, they don't need to stay there. And of course, if they're watching it virtually, they can stay in bed and watch it from bed. But in general, it's a really good option. And also, we're going to have some extended networking after the event is over. So if somebody wants to spend the night there. So on the Inclusive Wedding Summit website, that's inclusiveweddingssummit.com, there'll be a link to the hotel to get more information on them. And it's really a beautiful place. Brenda has done bridal shows there before. They have a very strong presence in the Jewish community, believe it or not. And they have very large rooms, and also a large rooftop cool place, easy to access, sure.
I'm pretty excited about it myself. Brenda, any final notes on the summit?
Just that too. It's going to be a fun day too. We're going to have a lot of entertainment in there. Frankie is the host, all these great speakers. So the day is going to fly by. So it's kind of something you don't want to miss. It's going to be kind of like the thing for 2025, the networking event. That's what we're going to make it.
And we're also going to have prizes as well. Just like, we draw the couples to wedding shows, we're really working on trying to get some really great giveaways and drawings for really cool things that you really have a good chance to win relative to a typical drawing where it's like 1,000,000 to 1. Here, we're only talking about, hundreds rather than millions. So.
Yeah. So it's not gonna be where you can win a kitchen set and a honeymoon. It's gonna be something different.
Well, we're looking for some really nice door prizes that could involve
a trip or
yeah, we're working on it.
Fantastic.
And two, we should also mention, right, Brian, that we are looking for sponsors, industry sponsors that would like to be part of the show, come show their wares at the event. If this is their market, the wedding vendors. So we'd love to hear from them too.
Yes, we're going to have time before lunchtime and after the event for attendees to be able to talk to exhibitors. And also for sponsors, we're definitely going to figure out creative ways to expose the sponsors in our marketing.
Terrific. I'm going to have the information for the summit as well for Brian and Brenda in the show notes. So this way you'll be able to find everybody and reach out accordingly. And especially if you're thinking of a sponsorship, it's such a great opportunity to get directly in front of the people you want to be in front of, the wedding industry professionals, and to get in at the inaugural year is really exciting too. Any final notes from you, Brian, on the summit?
It's just something that it's a lot of work. I have a very busy web design and SEO agency. I'm just blessed to have really good people surrounding me in my business that I trust. That is enabling me to put in a lot of energy right now, especially in this formative stage. We did the website, we did the branding. So I'm just really excited. I just love the idea of like, this is more of a day at the office for Brenda. She's done so many events. Actually, when I owned wedding stores, I did do a couple of my own wedding shows, but every one of them were, I was biting my nails. So I trust Brenda. Brenda's going to be the person that handles the event itself, and I just know that she's so talented and caring about the whole process, high standards of excellence. I'm just so glad to be able to do something with her after all these years.
Well, guys, that's all the information on the Inclusive Wedding Summit, but we're going to be doing more podcast episodes about it. So you may even see Brenda or Brian back again, or some of the speakers for the summit, as well as the regular episodes we'll be doing here. So a lot to come. We're really excited about this event. So join us on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, or through the Eventbrite and get your ticket, get that early bird pricing, get your room block, and let's have a great time together. Thank you, guys.